Hello, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be the part of my TBR for November that is the nonfiction, because that's the stuff I can actually show in a video. And the other part of my TBR for November is the 78 remaining books in my Netgalley queue. That I don't really have in person. So this will be the part that I get to show off. Flashy, actual props. Like that, there's books. That kind of thing. So for November, this is November 2024, in case I'm doing something similar a year from now, which I might be. I am going to be using the bingo color board from my July Dewey's Readathon game board. Because I made this lovely bingo color board that I didn't get to use in July, and I liked the idea of it. So I'm going to use it for November, because there are only 4 prompts for nonfiction November officially, which definitely I have at least a couple books for built into my stacks. But I would really rather have a few more prompts just to guide my selection, because when I started stacking up my nonfiction books to get an idea of what I was reading for November, I realized I have a ton of nonfiction books. Maybe not enough to read just nonfiction for a whole year at the pace that I read, but if you added in Netgalley and ebooks and audiobooks from the library and physical books from the library, I could probably spend an entire year just reading nonfiction, and maybe still have nonfiction books in my personal collection afterwards that I didn't get to. So that's the kind of collection I've got. And unfortunately, that means that I need to narrow it down somehow, or I'm not going to have any clue what to pick up on November 1st. And actually, I started a Netgalley arc today that belongs to next month. But I wanted to start it because it was one that, if you're familiar with Netgalley, if a book is not available to request, you can make a wish for it, and the publisher can grant your wish and give you access to the book anyway. So I did that for a book called Gaza Medic, by a British doctor from the Lake District, I believe, if I remember correctly. I've only read about 20 pages so far. It's very heavy going. But a year ago at this time, I was still mentally embedded in watching the war on Gaza. So it seemed appropriate to read it. And it's a fascinating book from a psychology perspective, as well as current events and everything. Just what is it like to be a medical person prepping to go into a war zone, knowing that medical personnel and medical facilities are actually being targeted, so they're not off limits the way they're supposed to be during a war. I mean, everybody knows in real war zones, being off limits doesn't mean you don't get bombed. It's just you might be a casualty that people get mad about and do something about, maybe. Or at least you end up on the news or something. And certainly in the war on Gaza, the bombing of hospitals and, shooting doctors and medics and, bombing ambulances and shooting kids that have, white flags, and you can only put so much on the news, and you run out of time in the news, and you haven't run out of stories yet. So it's one of those wars. It's ugly. It's the sort of thing that shouldn't happen in modern day, but it does anyway, and we try not to think about it so that we can actually continue doing the things we need to do, because unfortunately we can't all just stop and and focus in on what's going on there. And yeah, so it's one of those. Obviously, it's a heavy topic. I have avoided pretty much all the news from that region after being way too immersed in it for way too long a year ago, because it started at the end of September, which is about the time that I started my channel. So I started my channel, and then I got distracted with moving, packing to move and moving. And then on top of that, there was the war, and yeah. So totally derailed my reading plans a year ago. So anyway, so that one will be interesting to talk about. I don't remember what the publication date is on it, but it's coming out soon, or it's just come out. Anyway, really good book. Highly recommend so far. It's not a highly politicized book. It's a very frustrated man who's gone through an interesting experience, and is somebody that goes to war zones and works as a surgeon, and has done this more than once, and so it's an interesting perspective. Anyway, so this is partly procrastination. Probably this recording this video, because this is easier than reading that book, sort of, but not really. I'll get back to that book while this is uploading, which is going to take forever because I'm rambling about this book. Anyway, back to the bingo color board. I'm not going to talk this much about all the books in the stack. We'll talk about them when I read them. So bingo color board, I had a 5x5 grid, and I'm going to do row by row what books I've chosen. And I'm not going to say much more than that, because this would be a long video, and we'll talk about the books as I get to them anyway when I read them. Not if, when. So the first square in the bingo color board is red. And this is actually a book I received as a Goodreads giveaway a while ago. It is very red. It's called Killing the Story: Journalists Risking Their Lives to Uncover the Truth in Mexico. So very much in keeping with the theme of the Gaza book. So again, lovely, hard-hitting stories. I think shoot is one of the words. Anyway, one of the prompts for the official Netgalley, Nonfiction November, might work with that one. And we have green. You guys that have been watching my videos for a while might remember this book. It's been in TBRs. It's been in several TBRs. It's still in progress. But it's green. So Suetonius, the 12 Caesars, is going to be done this November. I was reading it for Nonfiction November last November. So it's going to be done. And it's been way too long. Anyway, the next square is melon. So this is one of the squares that after I made this board, I had to explain things. Because melon is maybe a color. There actually is a crayon usually that's called melon, and it's orange. Kind of a pinky orange. I have a sweater in that color, and it's actually really pretty. I'm not sure it's a pretty color on me, but it's pretty. But the point of some of these is to pick a book that's the color of the object. and it could be, you know, a particular melon or whatever. So I went with this one actually because it's the color of the honeydews that we had in the market a couple weeks ago at the food pantry market that I work at. So, Women Writing Resistance. This is a book of essays edited by Jennifer Browdy D. Hernandez, and a preface by Elizabeth Martinez. There we go. It's focused on Latin America and the Caribbean. So that one should be interesting. Then the next color was gray. This is gray. This is a book that I've been supposed to read for a few years that my sister said was really good. From the Profiles in Power series. This is James II by W.A. Speck. It's not very big, just a basic intro biography on the subject. I don't know much about this particular dude, so that should be interesting. British royalty and aristocracy was one of my subjects when I was in like 7th and 8th grade. I did a project, like drew out the entire family tree of the British royal houses, and it was so much fun. So that one might bring back memories. We have space is the final square in the first row. So the color of space. Well, it looks like the color of space to me. So this is The Birth and Death of the Sun by George Gamow. George Gamow is a physics professor and physicist who worked at the University of Colorado. So that's actually where I got my first degree. And I was in the physics department for 2 years before I decided it was way more homework than I was up for and switched. But yeah, that one should be good. I don't remember if I've read any of George Gamow's books, but he wrote a whole bunch of science books for the general public. Alright, so the next row, we have banana. Your walls, as in look at your walls, what color are they, pick a book that color. Orange, stripes, and tree. So for banana, what could be more banana colored than that? That is very banana colored. This is Deadliest Enemy by Michael T. Osterholm, PhD, MPH, and Mark Olshaker. This is subtitled Our War Against Killer Germs. So that should be fun. Your walls. Well, my walls in this room are almost the same color as this book. So I will be reading Man's Search for Meaning, An Introduction to Logotherapy by Viktor E. Frankl. It's been referenced in other books, so it's not very long. It's interesting enough. I'll probably get something out of it. We'll see. Next one is orange. So we have The Book of the Hopi by Frank Waters. The first revelation of the Hopi's historical and religious worldview of life. And it's got lots of orange. I hear kittens. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. When you set kittens to babysit kittens, things get insane. Anyway. Alright, so we've got orange, and then stripes and tree. So here's for stripes. That's definitely stripey. This is The Cold War, A Very Short Introduction by Robert J. McMartin, I believe. McMahon. Or McMahon? McMahon, probably. And then the last one is Tree. This one was an obvious one. A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. That cute bear. Alright, and then we have the next row. White, Spots, Black, Bird, and Pink. So white. We have this one, which Alex from Frank Fiction was reading earlier this year, and I thought, oh, that does sound really good. So now I'm going to hopefully get to it this coming month. Spots. There aren't very many books that actually have spots, like polka dots or anything like that. At least not in the nonfiction I have. I thought about, well, maybe I could do a fiction just for this one, but that'll be cheating. Because there are, like, romances and cozy mysteries, like cozy books, where, you got old-fashioned ladies in polka dot dresses. I did find a couple of those. But this one does have spots in kind of the artistic edging. This is Mountains Beyond Mountains, The Quest of Dr. Paul Farmer, A Man Who Would Cure the World, by Tracy Kidder. Don't know much about it, but I've heard some good things, just not very definite, like what it's actually about kind of things. Alright. Black. For Black, I've got Flight. My Life in Mission Control by Chris Kraft. So getting back to my space theme, since that's been one of my subjects lately. And then we have Bird and Pink. So for Bird, what would be good bird colors? This is bird colored. So take all those colors, squish them together, and you get some of the little finches that are hanging around outside. So finches and sparrows. This is another book I got as a Goodreads giveaway this year, actually. This was the first book I won this year, so it's not super old. So this one's actually not nonfiction either. This is one of the arcs that I have in print. So if I don't include them in this, I may not get to them. That's kind of the plan. I do have other books that I might use. So if I have other nonfiction I want to put in place of the arcs that are not nonfiction, I can do that, but I have to also read the arcs. So, yeah, because otherwise I'm never going to get to them. And the whole point of these games is to get to these books. And then Pink is the other one. So, who's going to be my pink book? You're kind of pinkish. That's the other color that's not really very forthcoming in nonfiction. It's pink. So, yeah, it's pink enough. It's kind of more purple than pink. It's kind of there. Lucretius, The Nature of the Universe. It's really more purple than pink, but for now it'll work. Yeah, this one's one where I might find something else to substitute. I haven't been to the library yet for nonfiction, so I might find something there. And then we have the next row. We have brown, sky, purple, teal, and yellow. Oh my. So I may want to use that one for purple. Maybe that's pink enough. It's kind of a sepia, but it's kind of an orangey pinky sepia. That might be pink enough to count as pink. We'll do that as pink. Edith Kermit Roosevelt, Portrait of a First Lady by Sylvia Jukes Morris. So then we'll use this one for purple. So we have brown, sky, purple, teal, and yellow. Alright, so I do have brown. Oh, that one's useful for something else. Let's do this one. This one's got plenty of brown on it. This is called Digital Gold. Bitcoin and the inside story of the misfits and millionaires trying to invent money. Reinvent money. Yes. That is another book I got as a Goodreads giveaway. It's been a little while. Sky is the next one. Not only is it sky, it's got birds on it. Yay! I could probably use this one for the birds one too, but obviously it's got parrot-colored colors on it. The Wild Parrots of Telegraph Hill. We'll use this one, Lucretius, for purple. So, The Nature of the Universe. And then teal and yellow. Okay, so for teal, I'm using Travel and Discovery in the Renaissance, 1420 to 1620, by Boys Penrose, which has some teal in the graphic. Then for yellow, Spilling the Beans, a book of essays by Jose Antonio Burciaga. So, kind of humor and just general essays, from what I could tell. Then the last row, we have food, flowers, metal, fur, and blood. So food. Oh, what does food colored here? Go with that for food. It is very much food. Mashed potatoes and gravy and like eggs, and yeah, I could sell that as being food colors. If I have a nonfiction about food that has food on the cover, I might substitute that. But I read several of my nonfictions about food already. One of them actually I read last November. So I'm getting a little low on my nonfiction about food. Flowers. Let's see what I've got that's flower colored. I may not have one over here yet. Yeah, hi. Are you a kitty? You're a kitty. What would I want to do for flowers? Yeah. Well, for now, I'll go with this one. Because the red and the white are flowers. Obviously, there are red flowers and white flowers. This is Lulu in the Sky, a daughter of Cambodia finds love, healing, and double happiness by Luong Ong. I don't know anything about it, and I might find a nonfiction book that's got a little more flower-esque coloration on it. Then we have Metal. This is one I thought about using for brown, but it's really bronze, not brown. The End of Physics, The Myth of a Unified Theory by David Lindley. The unified theory is something I've been watching lots of videos about. So that one is also something that's very timely for what I'm interested in lately. Then Fur and Blood. So for fur, ooh. That's kind of furry. At least there are things that color. We'll go with the creamy fur. So The Emperor of Maladies by Siddhartha Mukherjee. Yeah, that's furry enough. I have a cat about that color, so that works. And then Blood. What's more blood colored than red wine, right? The House of Mondavi, The Rise and Fall of an American Wine Dynasty by Julia Flynn Seiler. Alright, so that is my 25 books, 5 times 5 is 25, for my bingo colors board. Remember, one of those was not actually a nonfiction. So that one was for bird color. Do we want to substitute something else for bird color? Oh my. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Let's see if we have another bird colored book. Alright, I got a better one. The Great Gates, The Story of the Rocky Mountain Passes by Marshall Sprague. Because I definitely know birds around here that color. We have magpies. We have woodpeckers. Alright, so I've got my books. And I don't have any fiction in my 25 now. So I think we're good. Will I read them all? Probably not. Will I read all of them eventually? Yes. Unless books are library books, by the time they enter my collection, they've got to be really bad for me to unhaul them without reading them. So, all of these met the would I want to read it test enough that I acquired it. I will get to them all. Maybe not in November, but soon-ish. Obviously, I've been working on the Suetonius for a while, but I will get finished with it. Hopefully, Suetonius will be done within the first half of November, so I don't have to think about it ever again. It's not bad. It's just the print is tiny. Like tiny, like 4-point font. Which is how they crammed 12 Caesar's biographies into such a small paperback. That's how it works. Otherwise, it should be about a 500 or 600 page book. But it's not. But it should be. And it takes longer because it's such tiny font and the pages are yellowing. So the contrast is low, and so you have to have better lighting because low contrast 4-point font is kind of tricky, even if your eyes are not aging. Oh my goodness. Anyway, rant over? Yes. Alright, so that will be probably it for my TBR making for video purposes for November. I do have 78 Netgalley arcs, but lacking the technological wherewithal to stick them on the screen. That's going to be a boring video, me reading off my arcs. I might, when I do my weekly wrap-ups, read off a list of like 12 that I'd love to get to in the next week, that kind of thing. So I suppose I could do that, 12 that stand out right now. That wouldn't be so terrible. I'm just not going to read out 78 books. So, books that I definitely want to get to in the first week. I have, let's see, The Trouble with Ancient DNA by Anna Callan, which is science-y. My Documents by Kevin Nguyen, which is nonfiction, and beyond that I don't know much about it, but it looked interesting enough that I definitely want to get to it. And it's nonfiction, so both of those are. Galaxy Raiders Abyss by Ian Douglas. Not nonfiction. Definitely still want to read it sooner rather than later. It's not coming out till April next year, so if I don't get to it in the first part of November, it's not terrible, but it would be nice to read. The Blanket Cats by Kiyoshi Shigematsu. Comes out in February, so still I've got a while, but it's not very long. That's one that wouldn't take long to read, and it looks cute. It looks concerningly similar to a book I read last month, I think it was. We'll Prescribe You a Cat, something like that. It seems oddly similar, like they went to the same workshop or something. So I have my qualms about that one. But I had my issues with the We'll Prescribe You a Cat book, that maybe this one does better. So we'll see. The Book of Affects by Marilla Arnaud. I don't remember what it was about, but it looked interesting. Gaza Medic by Richard Villar, which I should finish soon. We've got Night and Day by John Connolly. Not nonfiction, but I do want to get to it. That one comes out in November, too, so that one I do need to read sooner rather than later. Oh, and the Gaza Medic came out on the 22nd? No, it comes out on the 30th. It archived the 22nd. So yeah, that one actually comes out today, as of today being midnight. The Balkan Air by Aydin Kavara. That one also comes out this week, so I probably will start it tonight or tomorrow, just to make sure I have it, that it doesn't archive while I didn't realize I didn't have it. And Selling Out the Spectrum by Liam O'Dowell, about certain things going on in the autism world that I've heard bits and pieces about, but not enough to really know what's going on, but enough to be interested. So I think that's a good start. I don't know how many that was, but that's kind of a snapshot of what I'm looking at for ARCs right now. Will I get to all of those ones? Well, I'll get to all of them, guaranteed, unless they archive and I didn't realize that my download wasn't good. And the downloads, when you're downloading into the Chromebook and they're opening up in the Adobe sort of thing that opens up the fancy files, those downloads don't last indefinitely. And they don't last even as long as when the book archives. Sometimes they go bad and need to re-download them. If you didn't notice that it did that, and it archives, then you can't really re-download it and then you can't read it. So, not that I've done that before. Hi, Katarina. Hi. You say hi before I sign off? Yeah? Hi. Yeah, you gonna read some books? Maybe? Yeah? Do you like books? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Alright, well, she's gonna help me with my books. That'll be good. Let me know if you were doing Nonfiction November and what you were reading. Let me know as well if you were doing Netgalley November and what you were reading. And I will catch you in the next video, which at this point will be my wrap-up for October. So there will be a wrap-up for October in which I will cover the books that I finished since my last video about October reading, and the general overview of what I read in October. I know, super exciting stuff. I don't at this point know how many books I finished in October so far, and I don't know how many more I will finish between now and this time 2 days from now. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Happy reading. Bye, guys.